You think your life changes through massive decisions. One big moment, one perfect plan, one burst of motivation. But that's not how transformation actually works. Real change happens differently, quietly, repeatedly, and usually through small habits nobody takes seriously at first. In this video, you're going to understand why 30 days of small actions can completely change the direction of your life. Not just your productivity, your identity, your confidence, your future. Because right now, most men are trapped in the same cycle. Extreme motivation in the beginning, total exhaustion a few days later. Then the same habits return. The same distractions, the same excuses, the same version of themselves. And every month that passes reinforces the same identity. That's why this matters now. Because if you continue repeating the same patterns for another 30 days, your future will look exactly like your present. But if small habits are repeated consistently for 30 days, everything starts shifting. And the strange part is that most people already know what they should do. Sleep earlier, train consistently, eat better, read more, waste less time. The problem is not information. The problem is repetition. Most people try to change their lives through intensity, but sustainable change comes from consistency. And there's a reason for that. Your brain adapts to repeated behavior, not emotional speeches, not temporary motivation, repeated behavior. That's why small habits are powerful. They reduce resistance. Going to the gym for 2 hours feels difficult. Doing 10 push-ups feels manageable. Reading an entire book feels overwhelming. Reading 5 pages feels possible. And that changes everything. Because once resistance decreases, consistency becomes realistic. This is why men who transform their lives rarely start with dramatic changes. They start small, but they repeat those actions long enough for the brain to accept them as normal. And that's where most people fail. They want fast results, immediate transformation. They try to rebuild their entire life overnight. Wake up at 5 a.m., train every day, meditate, work harder, quit distractions instantly. And for a few days it works. But then reality hits. The brain fights back. Because extreme change requires extreme emotional energy. And emotional energy is unstable. That's why people burn out. Not because they're weak, but because they try to force transformation instead of building it gradually. And this is the part most people don't understand. Small habits are not powerful because of the action itself. They're powerful because of what they do to identity. Every repeated action becomes evidence that you are becoming someone different. If you wake up early once, nothing changes. But if you wake up early for 30 days, your brain starts seeing you differently. If you train once, it feels temporary. But if you train consistently for 30 days, you stop feeling like someone trying to improve. You start feeling disciplined. And identity changes behavior faster than motivation ever will. That's the real shift. This looks like a habit problem, but in reality, it's an identity reconstruction process. Because confidence is not created by positive thinking. Confidence is created through proof that you can rely on yourself. And every small habit repeated daily becomes proof. That's why after 30 days, the biggest transformation is not physical. It's psychological. You think differently. You carry yourself differently. You trust yourself more. And once self-trust increases, everything accelerates. Your focus improves. Your discipline improves. Your emotional control improves. Even your decisions become sharper. Because disciplined men don't just look different, they operate differently. While most people wait for motivation, disciplined people create systems. That's the difference. One group depends on emotion. The other depends on structure. And structure always wins long term. This is why small habits create massive life changes over time. Not because each action is extraordinary, but because repetition compounds. One workout changes almost nothing. 30 workouts change your body. One focused morning changes almost nothing. 30 focused mornings change your productivity. One disciplined decision feels insignificant, but repeated daily, it changes identity. And identity changes destiny. Now here's the dangerous part. The opposite is also true. Small bad habits compound too. One wasted night seems harmless. 1 hour scrolling seems harmless. Skipping responsibilities once seems harmless. But repeated for months, those actions change your future just as powerfully. That's why your life right now is largely the result of repeated patterns, not isolated decisions. Patterns. And this should actually give you hope. Because if repetition created your current life, repetition can rebuild it. That means you do not need a perfect plan. You do not need to become a different person overnight. You do not need extreme motivation. You need consistency long enough for your brain to adapt. That's it. And after about 30 days, something interesting starts happening. The habits stop feeling forced. The resistance decreases. Discipline feels more natural because the brain begins protecting what it recognizes as identity. That's why the first days are difficult. You are fighting your current identity. But after repetition becomes normal, the process becomes easier. And suddenly, the man who struggled to stay consistent becomes the man who feels uncomfortable breaking his routine. That is real transformation. Not intensity, not motivation. Identity adaptation through repetition. So now the real question is simple. What would happen if you actually stayed consistent for 30 days? Not perfect, consistent. What would your body look like? Your mindset, your confidence, your future? Because most people underestimate what small actions can do in 1 month, but they massively underestimate what inconsistency destroys in a year. Your future is being built right now through small decisions, repeated daily. And in 30 days, you can either reinforce the same identity or begin becoming someone completely different. Because life rarely changes in one dramatic moment. It changes quietly, to small habits repeated long enough to become who you are.